today on pet adoption and how it benefits the community and helps prevent animal abuse. It's a personal, I have a personal interest in it because I'm actually going and trying to find a dog to adopt. So, according to the ASPCA, about 3 to 4 million dogs and cats are forced to be euthanized every year. And that's 60 to 70% of all dogs and cats that are brought into the shelters. So only about 30% of dogs and cats are actually adopted each year that go into the shelters. It's equal to the entire population of Puerto Rico being euthanized every year. So it's a lot of animals. And that's just in the United States. I don't know any statistics for any of the other nations. So animal adoption in shelters is a vital part of our community. I'm going to be talking about types of shelters and adoption, animal abuse and prevention, and why you should support and what you can do to support your shelters even if you're not looking into adopting any animals or anything like that. Some of the types of shelters, you can have a privately owned no-kill shelter. They're a lot more expensive for people to own and maintain, and they don't get government funding. Public animal shelters, like the Denver Animal Shelter, those are funded by the government, and they are kill shelters. They don't really have a choice. They have to be. They just are overpopulated. They have to euthanize animals. Private animal rescue shelters are usually more specific. We have pit bull rescue shelters. We have horse animal shelters, that kind of thing. They're also really expensive, especially ranches, because you have to have the land, you have to have all of the products needed to take care of big animals like horses. So Denver Shelters and Organizations, we actually have a lot of shelters in the Denver area. That's including like Lakewood, Aurora, Littleton, all of that. Their motto is to provide shelter and care to companion animals. They rescue sick, injured, abused animals. They also provide education and training for people, which is really important. Because a lot of times animals are abused and it's just because the owners don't actually know how to take care of them, or they don't know how important it is to take care of them. And it also reduces pet overpopulation. Sadly, euthanizing them actually takes care of overpopulation in Denver. And they do a lot of fundraising. They do a lot of community meetings and that kind of thing to talk about why it's important to adopt instead of having puppy mills, which are like breed specific, but they are all often inbred and overpopularized, and that they're really abusive. And so it's good to educate the public about why it's bad to have that. So the Denver Metro Shelter Alliance actually has 25 public and private shelters. They all work together. They all bring about education and everything together. And these are just some of the big ones. The Dumb Friends League is the largest community-based animal shelter in the Rocky Mountain region. And they rescue around 24,000 animals every year, so they're the biggest one. The Denver Municipal Animal Shelter is the main government-funded one. Animal control is where they usually get their animals, so if somebody gets a call that there's like a loose dog or that kind of thing, if they see a dog on the side of the road, animal control will bring it to the Denver Animal Shelter. And they take about 6,000 animals in a year, and they have to euthanize more than 1,000 every year. The Max Fund is the biggest no-kill shelter in Denver. It's nonprofit. They focus on healing abused and neglected animals. It was named after Max the German Shepherd, and he was brought in really abused. He was needing a lot of different surgeries, a lot of different medical care, and the community actually raised enough money to help take care of him. It started out as a hospital, not a shelter. And after they took care of Max and the community paid for all of his surgeries, they ended up opening their own shelter because they wanted to continue rescuing dogs, and that's where Max Fund came from. Since December 2011, they adopted 25,000 animals, and they spay and neuter about 50,000 animals every year. Big Dogs, Huge Paws is a shelter that is completely devoted to large breed dogs, and there's a huge problem in Denver because a lot of people live in really small apartments, but they get really big dogs, and they don't know how to take care of them. They don't realize that they're way more expensive than little dogs to maintain, that kind of thing. So Big Dogs, Huge Paws just takes in really big dogs, Mastiffs, St. Bernards, that kind of thing. Angels with Paws is focused entirely on cats. This cat right here is, he has a medical condition. He's called a twisty cat, and it just means that his front paws don't have, he has a bone deformation, so he has really short front paws. And Angels with Paws is actually pretty well known for taking in these little cats, and they give them a medical care and they take care of them. And they educate people and they adopt them back out. So they make sure that even cats who have deformities and stuff go back into good homes. So that's a picture of a twisty cat. So adoption procedures are different for every shelter, and it costs different depending on what kind of shelter you're going to. Obviously, if you go to like the Denver Animal Shelter, less expensive than if you go to a specialty shelter. But adoption fees usually include spaying and neutering and a microchip, which they put under the dog's skin so that you can find your dog at any point in time. So if your dog runs away, you have this microchip, it's like a GPS, you can find your dog. They are vaccinated. It can be anywhere between $80 and $200, and I'm looking into adopting from the animal shelter because I'd rather rescue a dog from a kill shelter. I know it's kind of weird, but I am. And if they're younger than a year, it's $150 from the Denver Animal Shelter. Some of the shelters, especially the private shelters and horse shelters and that kind of thing, in order to adopt from there, you have to go through a whole adoption procedure. So you have to fill out an application, you have to basically talk to a bunch of people and tell them how you're going to make sure that this animal is well taken care of, and that you have the funds, the products, the space, everything to take care of the animals, especially for pit bull rescue, horse rescue, and like the big dog shelter. You have to go through a whole application process in order to get the dog, which I think is really important. So animal abuse is one of the major reasons why I'm talking about animal adoption today, because it is a huge problem and I don't think a lot of people know about it. It's rampant in Denver, especially through dog fighting and that kind of thing. And the ASPCA and the Denver Animal Shelter, they're actually bringing in animals that are abused, and they're taking legal action against people who are neglecting their animals and that kind of thing, which is really important. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty is the ASPCA. It was the first humane society to be established in North America, and is today one of the largest in the world. It was funded by Henry Berg in 1866, and he believed that animals should have rights just like people, that abusing an animal should be something that's punishable by prison, fines, that kind of thing. They were the first humane organization to be granted the access to prosecute people legally through that. And they focus on nonviolent approaches, obviously, and education is a huge thing through the ASPCA. They understand that some people just don't know how to take care of their animals, and they don't know that what they're doing is wrong. And through a lot of their legal approaches, they will take the animals away. They'll have the owner actually go through a whole education program, kind of like AA or something, and they'll give the animals back to them if they pass it and if they seem like they have a genuine interest in wanting to take care of their animals. So a big issue for me is bully dogs in Denver. You're not allowed to have a pit bull in Denver. They passed a law saying you're not allowed to own, breed, anything with a pit bull. And that's not just for pit bulls. It includes American Pit Bull Terriers, which are a mix, and American Staffordshire Terriers, Bull Terriers, basically any dog that has the same characteristics as a pit bull. So that's going to include Bull Mastiffs. It's going to include, I think it includes St. Bernards and big dogs like that too. It started out because they started doing a lot of like dog fighting in Denver, and as a result, they were getting a lot of dog attacks, and so these dogs have been raised since little. They've been beaten and abused, and so they have a natural knack to attack people. And it's actually, pit bulls are the only dog breed that, with all of their dog attacks, it's more on adults than on children. So with German Shepherd attacks, those kind of attacks, it's usually because the child doesn't know how to respond to the dog, and so they don't know like the warning signs that this dog is angry, it's going to attack you. With pit bulls, all of the attacks are mostly on adults because they're abusing the pit bulls are attacking them. But in 1989, Denver passed a law saying that you weren't allowed to own a pit bull, discriminating against that breed. In 2004, the state of Colorado ruled that it's unlawful to discriminate against a breed of dog, or any animal really. in 2005, Denver actually sued the state of Colorado saying that they needed that law. The public was not informed about it. They didn't ask for any public input. They sued the state of Colorado. It was overruled, and the law went back in place. Since the Colorado ruled that you couldn't discriminate against the dogs, a lot of owners went and got pit bulls, and they actually had their dogs taken away. So 150 owners, well, more than 150 now, but after the law went through, 150 owners were sent notifications saying, it's illegal for you to have your dog now, you can't have it anymore, and they actually got confiscated. And their dogs went into shelters, they went into the pit bull rescue in Longmont, they lost their pets. Today campaigns like the Occupy Denver are fighting to reverse the law. Their motto is basically, it's the deed, not the breed. So it's how you raise those dogs. If you get a pit bull, you know it's going to be a big dog. You know that you have to take care of it, you have to exercise it, you have to bring it in with, if you have a family and you have children, then you need to raise it with children. You need to raise it around other dogs and that kind of thing. And they promote a lot of education. They promote, if you do want a pit bull, you shouldn't just go out and get a pit bull. You should go through a whole training program so you know how to train a pit bull. And they're working on trying to get their owners to get their dogs back, but they can't really get them back. They're in shelters and adopted out to other families in other cities because you can't have them in Denver anymore. So they probably aren't going to be able to get their dogs back. If you're interested in adopting, or if you're not interested in adopting, you can still help. All animal shelters always want volunteers. You can go in, you can walk the dogs, you can feed the dogs, help clean out, that kind of thing. And I mean, it looks good on a resume if you go and you volunteer to help out with that. Obviously, donations are wanted from shelters all the time. This is from that commercial from the ASPCA asking for donations. And it's the sad music and the abused dogs, and it really does ruin your day. But donating even just like $1 to the animal shelter helps out a lot. While costs like differ for government shelters, because the government's helping fund them and their kill shelter, that's going to be around $20,000 for just for a government shelter. Private shelters are more around $50,000 or more, and that's just per month. So it is a really expensive thing to own an animal shelter. It's a really good cause, but it's extremely expensive for the city. And they do a lot of fundraising. That's basically the main reason that they get money. So if you ever hear about an animal shelter doing a fundraiser or anything like that, you should definitely help them out. It's really important for me. It helps with animal rescue, and it actually, it does help out because they do rescue pit bulls, and pit bulls are attacking people, and big dogs like that can attack people if they get loose, or if their owners, a lot of times if they're being prosecuted for dog fighting, they kind of just let their dogs go so they can't be charged with it, so they have loose dogs running around attacking people. It's really sad, and donations help save them. So for me, this was a really important project because I am looking into adopting a dog. I'm actually going to the shelter today to go and look at a puppy, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm getting it from the Denver Animal Shelter, and I'm going to be donating every month and that kind of thing. So I hope this helps you guys realize how important an animal shelter is.